What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode Podcast weekly leveling up episode where every single week I come to you with different tips, tactics, and strategies to help you continue to level up in your own personal success journeys. All right, so today I'm here to talk to you about pushing through the next Great Depression and how to ensure that you come out the other side in the way that you want, right? And that you are leveling up during this very depressed era that we are in and that we are continuing to step into. Now, first off, when you see this, when you hear this, when I talk about the Great Depression, it's easy to go out there and be like, oh, dude, that's not going to happen again. We're not experiencing anything like that. That's not going to take place. The news, everything that we're hearing, all the economy is strong, all of this stuff. Look, I'm here to tell you that we are already amongst it. And look, when you look at and you study historic, before they were called depressions, they were called panics, and then they're like, oh, well, panics is too severe of a word, so let's call them depressions. And then maybe depression's too severe, so now let's call them, recessions. Well, now people can't really handle any of that, so maybe we'll just, lie and not call it anything or call it a soft landing and then you got like these things also get reported after the fact years and years later. So what I'm talking about, when I'm talking about the Great Depression, look, we are already here. We are already experiencing this. But again, when you study recessions, depressions, and panics, they even though there's a lot of similarities, there's also differences. So like during the Great Financial Crisis, 2008 period of time, 2008 to 2012, now that was, not necessarily as severe of a time as the Great Depression per se, as far as for the average person out there. And that can be debated and argued a little bit, but for most of the way that they think about it in their mind, it wasn't necessarily as severe overall. However, the housing market crashed way harder during the Great Financial Recession. And there have been other recessions, other depressions, other panics where maybe the housing market wasn't impacted in that same way. So when I'm talking about the Great Depression, us already being here, I'm talking about the average state of the average person. So when we start looking at the data and doing a deep dive to this, and this takes a lot of discovery and takes a lot of digging to go out there and get the data and actually get the real details, because how things are tracked, how things are measured, are manipulated over time. So like as an example, how CPI is calculated, the inflation that we are told that we are experiencing right now, that gets shifted and that calculation is changing. The biggest shift in the calculation came in the 90s, but it's always being shifted and recalculated. And there's a few reasons for that. Some of it may be justified. There's other just bullshit reasons. Like as an example, Social Security has to be adjusted based to actual real inflation that we're experiencing, and our government's already bankrupt. So if they were calculating inflation the same way that they did during the Great Depression, well, true inflation today would be above 10%. Right? And what we experienced the last couple of years, we would have been closer to 16, 17, 18%, experiencing a greater element of inflation or a greater rate of inflation than we did during the 70s and 80s. If you look at life today is easily 40% more expensive today than it was in, let's just say, 2019. So in just 4 years, we've had at least 40% inflation that has taken place. So when you look at what I'm speaking to when I'm talking about this depression that we're in, and let's just call it this silent depression, because nobody's really talking about this when it comes from, the mainstream, but we're all feeling it. You're feeling it. I'm feeling it. Now, it depends on your income bracket. You're going to be feeling it more or less, but we're all seeing it, right? Again, when life today is easily 40% more expensive than it was just 4 short years ago, okay, it's crushing the average person. And what we're experiencing now, and have been for some time, but now it is just speeding up, is the wipeout of the middle class. So we got this huge gap now, and it's just speeding up, and unless something dramatically changes, and I don't know what that could be, like a revolution, a civil war, World War III, something dramatic would have to change the trajectory that we are on. And if we continue on the trajectory that we are on, the middle class, we're just getting wiped out. We're seeing people have less, people have more, and it's just essentially the complete elimination of the middle class, right? So then when we start looking at every KPI out there, when you look at the Cost of, we've already talked about inflation. When you look at unemployment today, true unemployment rates, if we calculated it the same way that we did during the Great Depression, unemployment's every bit as high, right? Then from there, when we talk in cost of life, and when it comes to this inflation, we're just in the beginning phases of this, right? This is gonna be continuing for some years and years to come. So when we look at, from a debt standpoint, from the average consumer, we're amongst the most expensive time to be alive as a U.S. citizen to ever exist, and it is not going to slow down unless there's an extreme something that takes place. And again, I don't even know what the hell that extreme could be. So it would be some massive shift to change that trajectory. So this is what I'm speaking about here, right? And again, like, all you got to do is just pay attention to what's going on in your own life, having conversations with people in your own life. We're seeing the biggest year-over-year debt increase on all fronts, from the consumer to corporations, to the government. Things are getting more and more expensive. Quality of life is going down, down, down. Our dollar's losing value very, very quickly. A dollar today, or a dollar 4 years ago, is worth 60 cents now. And now that we're, deficit spending like a mofo, meaning our government, those powers that be, if you will, massively deficit spending, all of those things are massively inflationary. So with this, what I'm here to talk about today is, okay, what do we do to combat this? We cannot control what is going on with the overall economy, what's going on with the overall world, but what can we control? We can control what's going on with our own personal world. I can't control the whole world out there. It's a big place, dude. Lots of people, big place. But I can't control my world. Just because the rest of the world is experiencing, or the rest of the country, or whatever, experiencing a recession or depression, doesn't mean I need to be. It doesn't mean you need to be. And of course, we are here. Those of you that watch and listen to this podcast, we're here because we want to go out there and level up, man. We want to go out there and create the most, opportunities and the best quality and overall success for ourselves, for our families, and so forth. And here is the cool thing about this. Don't let this shit get you down. Don't let it depress you. I know it can be hard. Like, I hate seeing that, homeless rate jumped over 11% in the last 12 months. I hate driving around these cities and seeing all these homeless people, not just because cities have more trash and are dirtier. No, I freaking hate, my heart goes out. I'm not a psychopath, right? Like, I hate seeing people struggle, but I cannot necessarily control that. Now, I can go out there and create more success. That maybe means that I can give back a little bit more. But even if I gave 100% of everything I ever made, it's not going to solve that problem, right? But so what we can control is our own successes. And again, as I said, was getting ready to say this a moment ago, don't let this stuff get you down. Always remember that there are more millionaires and billionaires created during down markets, during hard times, than there are good times. So this is a prime opportunity to go out there and massively level up. All right, so I'm going to go through, I got 7 different steps I'm going to walk you through of what to do, and what I'm personally doing right now going through these times. Okay, step number 1. It's just getting clarity on which side of the equation that you want to be on. Because as I said, man, we're going through the biggest wealth transfer to ever exist in world recorded history. So people are getting richer, people are getting poorer, this middle class getting completely wiped out and getting crushed. And now that we're in this, tech era, we're kind of out of the Industrial Revolution and now in the tech, revolution, and have been for some time, and robotics and AI. I mean, maybe there's just no need for the middle class. I don't know. Again, this stuff is beyond me and out of my control. So I got to pick and choose which side of that equation do I want to be on, right? If there's no more a middle, do you want to be on the wealthy side, or do you want to be on the poor side? Because it's like you got 2 camps. So it's just picking and choosing which side of the equation that you want to be on. Now, if you want to be in the poor camp, just keep doing what you're doing, or just do what everybody else does. And that's where you're going to be, because that's going to probably be 99% of the population, right? So I know which side of the equation that I want to be on. So the first thing is figuring out which side of the equation that you want to be on, and then committing to making that a reality. Okay, so then step number 2 is to understand things are different. Look, what we're experiencing right now is something that none of us have ever experienced before when we start putting all of this into play, right? When we look at, debt on the magnitudes of scales of the levels that it is, in the amount of deficit spending, the amount of increasing balance sheets with the Federal Reserve, with the federal government, And on a global scale, when we look at government debt, when we look at corporate debt, when we look at consumer debt, it's at magnitudes of a scale of size to anything we've ever seen before, right? And again, we've got the biggest and the fastest transference of wealth taking place right now that we've ever seen. So this stuff, the rate of speed is happening really fast. In addition to that, right now, we got deglobalization, you got a shrinking global demography. There's so many things going on right now that you and I have never experienced, we have never seen, and at least of recorded history. Maybe there was advanced civilizations before that, wiped themselves out and there's no record of them. That's definitely a probability. But at least that we have awareness of in recorded history, we haven't experienced anything like we are seeing right now. So you can't allow yourself to get locked into what's called normalcy bias. Oh, well, this is what's, happened in my lifetime or what's happened in other situations before. And this is, it's always worked out. Things always work out. No, like shit is different. Now maybe it ends up working out, but I'm not going to plan on that. And I don't recommend that you do either. So it's understand that shit is different. And when things are different, then that must dictate a different response. So we got to go out there and do different shit than we've ever done before. And what I mean by this is you got to be more focused. You got to be more driven. You got to be more dedicated. You got to work that much harder. Like you and I, this is a time to go out there and fight. Like this is going to be the fight of our lifetimes to go out there and make sure that we're on the side of the equation. Well, one of the equations of which side that you want to be on probably isn't going to take that much of a fight. But the other side, if you want to go out there and continue leveling up and be on the side of the haves versus the have-nots, like this is probably going to be the fight of your lifetime when it comes to your overall business, and not just because business also wraps around health, wraps around mindset, all of this stuff. All right, so understand things are different, which is going to equate to different actions, different levels of actions. Okay, step number 3, because of these things, it's going to take us being, like I just said, more focused, more intentional, that harder working, all of those things. Okay, we're going to have to be that much more intentional about cutting out all the unnecessary bullshit that does not get us one step closer to making the goals that we have a reality. So this is not a time for balance. This is not a time for entertainment. This is not a time for chillaxing. That's going to be for the have-nots. And again, this is happening fast, and it's going to continue to happen faster. So okay, like, dude, cutting out all the bullshit TV, cutting out anything that doesn't fully align with your goals. And I'm not saying to, work 24/7 and never sleep. No, like we got to sleep to be able to go get the right output at work and out of our life. I'm not saying to not spend time with family. That's important too. But all the other bullshit, right? Like all the other, watching sports, all that shit. Again, it's going to dictate and depend on which side of the equation that you're on. Now, if you are already a have, not the have not, but if you already have, if you already got $50 million in the bank, if you're already freaking loaded, okay, yeah, you could probably go chill and watch the freaking football game right now, right? But if you're in this, that's middle ground right now, and let's just say you're making, I don't know, I'd say anybody that's making under $1 million a year, that doesn't have, several million in the bank or in investments, not saying that you should ever have several $1 million sitting in a bank account, but several, you have, several $1 million of already of a net worth, and you're not making at least $1 million a year right now. This is who I'm speaking to right now, right? This is that time to go out there and freaking grind and then cut out all of that bullshit until you got onto that side of the equation. And I'm not trying to tell you what to do. What I'm going through here is this is more me speaking to myself and me just going through, okay, what I'm doing right now and just speaking like, to myself in my own head. These are things that I'm being intentional with in my own life, right now. Okay, step number 4 is we got to work smart and we got to work hard. This is a time where we got to work intelligent. We got to be strategic. We got to make sure that we have the right game plans of action, and we got to freaking work our asses off. We got to work hard, working 7 days a week, right? And if you want to take, look right now, and it has been this way for me for about the last, year or so, because probably the last 2 years where this became extremely evident to me. So then I'm like, okay, I know what side of the equation I want to be on. Plus, I see this as a massive opportunity to set myself up, my family up on ways that we've never been set up before. So I work 7 days a week, every, just bam, 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 go. Maybe I'll take, Christmas off or something, but on those, that doesn't mean that I'm still not enjoying family time. Like on the weekends, okay, I might go in at 3 or 4 a.m. to the office so I can be home by 1 o'clock in the afternoon and still have a good, full day-ish with the family. It doesn't mean that, again, you don't have to drop these balls on other things that are important to you. Like I'm still making sure to be intentional with my health, still making sure to, spend time with the family, even though it might be a little lesser than it normally has in the past, but I'm still making sure to get that time in. But I'm making sure that, I'm like 80 hours a week is a light week. Right? I mean, I'm working, 14, 15, 16-hour days. Most days, weekends might be, 10 to 12-hour days. But doing what we got to do to, again, go out there and decide what equation that we're on. And you might be listening to this and be like, oh, Josh, that sounds extreme. Again, okay, cool. But you don't have to do it. Just understand what we're experiencing is extreme shit. And most people are not paying attention. Most people have no awareness. Most people are just going to get blindsided, and get knocked the fuck out because they're not paying attention. Or maybe they're paying attention. They just don't want to believe it. Right? So we're in extreme times, dude. So in extreme times, and if we want extreme results, we got to do some extreme shit. Okay, step number 5 is living below your means. So work like you're broke. Live like you are broke and go out there and freaking start, making cash and stacking cash, right? And if you're investing that, making smart strategic investments, I'm not going to go out there and buy something like a freaking Airbnb right now, I'm personally, right? So you could do whatever you want to do with your investments. I'm not here to give you investment advice, but just be freaking intelligent with your money. Make sure that you are making a shit ton more than you are spending. Get all your debt paid down, get all that, whatever you got to do, right? Live way below your means. Okay, step number 5 is take care of your mind, right? Like right now, you want to get your money right, you want to get your mind right, and you want to get your health right. There's going to be a lot of shit going on. And look, we could be amongst a time of where our financial system is completely broke. And this is a theory that I have. It's not the only theory. I've got several theories of what we're going through here as far as the monetary system, but there's a part of me that believes that this shit broke in like 2008 and has just been band-aided and band-aided and band-aided and band-aided. So since really 2007 is really when it started to break, right? Because 2007 till now, it's just been deficit spending. It's just been printing money. We've had an artificial economy since then. We'd be in a 16-year-long depression right now if it wasn't for just fucking monopoly money. Just go to the printing press, print, devalue everybody's money and make everybody have a lesser quality of life. This is why you go to the grocery store right now and you're like, what the fuck? This like, dude, your cart's half as full for the same amount of money, or 60%, less in your cart, same amount of money as you're used to spending. That is a result. This strong economy that you thought you had. People are like, oh man, real estate's so good, real estate's so strong. For whom? Right? All this means when you got to go pay insane prices for a piece of real estate is that your money is worth less. And that this continues. When your money's worth less and less and less and less, eventually it becomes worthless. Right? And you got to understand that there's been 500 fiat currencies prior to the U.S. dollar. There's been many world reserve currencies prior to the U.S. dollar, and they've all suffered the same fate. Right? The powers that be couldn't control the temptation of the printing press, where it devalues the dollar, hyperinflation, and more tyrannical policies get more authoritarian, and tyrannical policies, get taken into place. Kind of sounds familiar to what we're seeing and have been seeing for the last several decades, right? More so, relevant now today. We're seeing more and more of this, people, tossed in prison now for freaking free, for speaking their minds. And, like we're seeing massive authoritarianism, moving in. But this isn't a new playbook. This has happened over and over and over and over. Yeah, right? So making sure that, I don't know where I was going with all this, but okay, step number 5, let me circle back here, taking care of our minds, right? Like, oh no, that's what I was saying. Okay, we got to take care of our money, get your money right, get your mind right, get your health right. All those things are going to be massively important. So when I'm talking about getting your mind right, like making sure you are controlling what your eyes are seeing, what your ears are, what you're listening to, what you're watching, who you're spending around time with, making sure that you are feeding your mind the right things to get you in action. So like skill set acquisition, We're acquiring the right skill sets, things that are getting you fired up, that are inspiring you. I'm not going to go watch a bunch of, Chicken Little, Sky is Falling bullshit that depresses me. This is why I try to stay off social media as much as possible right now. I mean, I'm a content, creator, not a content consumer, right? So, because when I go on fucking Twitter today, it's like, shit, within 15 minutes of being on Twitter, I'm like, damn, I don't feel as good anymore, right? And it's not that I don't want to have awareness, but I can have awareness of what's going on with the world without binging a bunch of news and a bunch of bullshit that gets me down. I need to keep my mind right? So I need to keep my mind strong. I need to keep my mind right. I need to keep it inspired. I need to keep it pushing forward, right? And again, keeping your mind right is people that you're spending time with, what you're watching, what you're listening to, all of those things come into you. You need to be mentally freaking strong because you're going to have times where like, oh man, I just need a break. Oh, I deserve to chill. I deserve to, no, dude, like again, which side of the equation do you don't deserve a break until you made it. Right? And right now it's getting harder and harder to make it. So we got to keep our minds fucking strong and focused on, that end point at hand. So right now you're going to have to be mentally stronger than you've ever been before. Okay. Step number 7 is taking care of your health, right? If we don't have our health, we can't do any of this stuff. So making sure you're eating clean, one ingredient, clean foods, drinking lots of water, making sure that you're working out, it's like, look, I don't need to go in the gym. I mean, I worked out, today my workout was, I did a resistance training workout. It's about 40 minutes, and then I got an hour of cardio in. But guess what I'm doing when I'm doing my cardio, man? When I'm on my sales calls, I have my, when I have my sales calls, man, I slap on my earphones and I go outside and I, walk around my, my subdivision while I'm on those calls. So I can integrate those things, so 45-minute, weight workout early this morning while I'm self-developing, I'm listening to an audiobook. Then on my sales calls, I go up there. So I'm bringing this stuff up as it doesn't need to take time. You don't need to go spend 3 hours a day in the gym. I find that taking care of my health saves me a bunch of time. Because again, okay, if I'm just walking during or doing a little bit of cardio, walking during, sales calls, and all of you guys that are listening to this, are real estate, we're in sales, right? How many hours a day are you on the phone calls? Okay, fucking walk. Get your body moving, right? So there's no excuse to not do that shit, right? Then from there, when I'm eating one ingredient in Whole Foods, it gives me a ton more energy, right? When I'm drinking all that water and whatnot. But guess what I'm not doing? I'm not wasting money and I'm not wasting time on going out to eat and all that bullshit that is making me sick, giving me brain fog, screwing up my body anyway. That's breaking the bank. I mean, what's it like? I don't even take my family out to eat anymore. Even though we have the means to do so, I'm just like, fuck it, I'm done. And this was about a year or so ago. The last time we went to Chili's, and that's something like a fancy, nice rip. My kids just love it, So we went there, and this was like a year or so ago. For a family of 5, no alcohol, none of that. Like, we don't drink. I think the appetizers, chips and salsa, which I think is free, there anyway, or whatever it is. Like, it's not expensive, but it was like $120. And I'm like, okay, not saying that the food's terrible, but I'm like, okay, like this isn't worth it. The whole cost benefit equation doesn't add up. It's not good for me. It doesn't align with all of these things that we're here to talk about. So if I'm recapping these real quick, okay, step number 1, get clarity on what side of the equation that you want to be on. And I know I'm sounding extreme, but I promise you, I am not here to fearmonger you. It's just pay attention, man. Like, wake up, dude. Like, we need to wake up and pay attention to what the hell is going on. I'm with this, and I'm not a political guy. I don't believe that any president, I don't rely or wait for somebody to come save me, right? I don't believe that there's one person that we can elect to come out there and say, I'm not trying to make this political. I'm just talking about, hey, like this is just the era that we are in. This is what is happening. If you are awake at all, and by awake, I mean just paying attention to all the geopolitical moves and the things that are taking place and have been taking place for some time, but just like, having that awareness, like this is just the era that we are in. And I don't look at this as good or bad. Is it the preferred era that I wish that we were in or not? No, but it is what it is. So I can't control that. Right? I can't control that we have 100 million people a year globally falling into poverty. I can't control this stuff, right? But what I can control is the results that I personally get and the opportunities that I personally create for my family. And that's also what you can control. All right, so step number 1 is just getting clarity on which side of that equation you want to be on, the haves or the have-nots. Step number 2 is understanding that we are amongst extreme at different times. So you are going to have to operate and do extreme at different shit. right? Like an opposite action, or reaction is, what is the damn saying? One of Newton's laws, every action has an opposite equal reaction, or maybe I inverted that, but you get my point there, right? Like massive action equals massive results. When we're amongst extreme situations, extreme times, it takes extreme action and extreme focus. So, okay, understand things are different. Number 3, cut out all the bullshit that doesn't align and get you one step closer to what it is that you want to create in your life. Step number 4 is work smart and hard. Step number 5, live way below your means. Like, live like you are broke right now, but go out there and stack cash. Living like you are broke, dude. Like, I mean, it's me, like outside of the essentials, right? Outside of, operation expenses for business, that I'm being very intelligent with. Everything's accounted for. Everything is tracked, measured, all of that. In my personal life, though, like, dude, as I said, no eating out. We're not going to movies. My kids want to go to movies. No, they want to go to a movie. I'm like, hey, you can go, and you can take the whole family, but you guys are spending your money. You're buying our tickets. Like, I'm not doing this shit right now. Like, right now, we're going to live like we are broke. We're going to stack as much cash as possible. Because the other thing is, on the other side of this, there's going to be massive opportunities to be had. So we want to not just be able to survive during these times. We want to be able to thrive during these times. But we want to be in position to go out there and capitalize on whatever opportunities come on the other side of this. All right, so then from there, step number 6, take care of your mind. And then the last one, taking care of your health. All right, so anyway, I hope that this is helpful. Again, these are my recommendations for pushing through the next Great Depression, which I believe that we are already amongst. We are already experiencing. Again, when I look at unemployment, when we look at, the amount of people going homeless. I mean, 11% of people going homeless last year. Just last year, 11% increase, in that. The amount of, the exhaustion of the middle class, the amount of the rate and the speed that the middle class is getting out of. People are way worse shape right now than they were before going into the Great Recession or during the Great Recession. And people are as bad, if not in a worse place right now, when we look at all these different KPIs, than they were during the Great Depression. We're amongst the most expensive time to be alive as a human being. Quality of life is going down and down and down. Health is going down and down and down. Those two things are really correlated for a lot of people. So hey, this shit's deteriorating. And again, unless something massive happens, but I can't wait for something massive to happen, and I'm guessing you can't either. I can't wait for a quote unquote savior. But guess what? God gave us all the ability to go out there and freaking turn shit around and save ourselves, right? And control our own situations. And the more success that we create, then we can go out there and help others too, right? With that. So anyway, hope this is helpful. Keep crushing it. If you enjoyed this, and if you want to check out more additional free training resources, also make sure to check out gsdmode.com. All right, guys, keep crushing. We'll talk to you next time. Peace.